Good afternoon, and thanks for joining for a FundMatch webinar this month. Our topic this month is in-store displays. And for those who don't know me, my name is Gretchen Gilbert. I'm the FundMatch program manager here at WUSATA. If you'll just hold questions until the end, we'll do a Q&A session at the end, or you can throw them in the chat at any point throughout the presentation as well. Okay, our agenda today, we're going to get to know WUSATA. We're going to go over what is FundMatch, the FundMatch process. We'll go into depth about in-store displays, claim submission, and then we will wrap up. Okay, so for those who are new to WUSATA, we are a nonprofit trade association. We have over 40 years of exporting focus. We have a global network of resources, and we are funded by the USDA's Market Access Program. So WUSATA has 3 different programs, and each one is designed to meet companies at any stage of their export journey, not just FundMatch. And each one will systematically help them identify markets, connect with buyers, and then promote their brand. So each program meets our companies at a different stage. We start at export education for maybe our new to export companies, or for those who are new to a particular market, or maybe are wanting to launch a new product in a new market. Whatever it may be, export education provides access to market intelligence and consumer insights through our monthly webinars and our monthly reports that we have on our website, which are provided to us by our in-country reps. And then we have our Global Connect program. This is our events-based program. That's through trade shows, inbound and outbound missions, or other types of promotions. Here, we'll help companies discover new export markets, connect with international buyers, and increase distribution through targeted activities. And then lastly, for our companies who are already exporting and wanting to do some more marketing and advertising internationally, the FundMatch program provides up to $300,000 yearly in financial reimbursement for international marketing activities. And we will go more into FundMatch on the next slide. So what is the FundMatch program? The FundMatch program assists eligible agribusinesses and agricultural suppliers to compete internationally by providing 50% reimbursement for eligible marketing expenses and activities to promote the brands and products of the USA. Those 2 things are key and sort of core components of the program, which we'll talk about as well. So do you qualify for FundMatch? So companies have to be headquartered in the Western US region. Have to be a small to medium agribusiness. Your products have to be at least 50% US grown, and you have to be in operation for at least 1 year. So this chart gives sort of an overview of the entire FundMatch process, start to end, that I'll go over briefly. So ideally, we want you to start with a consultation with one of our engagement executives who are broken out by our states and territories. So they are focused on only certain states, and you'll meet with them one-on-one to get to know about the FundMatch program, what's eligible, what's not eligible, and what's sort of required in order to get your reimbursement. Once you have that consultation, you'll submit your application. There is a one-time application fee of $350. It gets reduced to $300 if you apply early within the period of August 1st and December 31st of 2025 for the 2026 program year. So for 2025, you can still apply, but it's going to be $350 now at this point. But if you apply for 26 within that early period of August 1st to December 31st, it'll be reduced to $300. And then myself as a FundMatch manager will review the application and approve it. If there's anything missing or additional documentation needed, we'll request it at that point. Once it's approved, you'll sign our contract and pay our 6% administration fee. That's based on the total amount of funding that's being requested for reimbursement for that year. Then you'll go and conduct your activities, compile all your documentation that you need, and then you will submit a claim to us for reimbursement. One of our FundMatch claims coordinators will review your claim and request any additional documentation or information if it's needed at that point. Once it's approved, we will disperse the funds to you. So the U.S. origin statement, like I kind of hinted at previously, is core to the FundMatch program. The U.S. origin statement needs to be on all of your product labels that you're promoting through FundMatch, as well as incorporated into all of your activities through the program. So I pulled this chart right from our FundMatch guide, and this shows you all of the eligible and ineligible origin statements that you must use. So for the eligible ones, product of USA, grown in USA, made in USA, you can use America, US, United States interchangeably there. You can also use product of California, grown in Oregon, made in Montana. You can use the state names as long as they're spelled out in their entirety. You cannot use the abbreviated versions of those. So you can't use product of CA, grown in OR, made in MT, etc. Also for our wineries, wine of California is acceptable. And also for our wine and spirits, you can use bottled by or produced in as well. Some of the ineligible statements, you can't use the American flag on its own. It needs to be accompanied with that origin statement. If you're at a trade show, the USA Pavilion signage is not eligible. You need it within your own booth as well. Anything that references a geographic location in the name of your product or your brand, like Bob's American Pizza or Texas style chili, that's ineligible as well. It needs to be separate from your product or your brand name. Your address is not sufficient either. Other statements like distributed by, manufactured and produced, and etc., those are not eligible either. Okay, now we're going to cover specifically what expenses are eligible through FundMatch for in-store displays. So for an in-store display, any freestanding display that is constructed of temporary materials like a cardboard or a paper or similar material, it cannot have a life of more than 1 year, essentially. Any point of sales materials, so posters, banners, sales sheets, shelf talkers that may be present with your display are eligible as well. The production of cartons that convert to shelf displays. And all of these things have to, again, promote your brand and your brand name and have a valid U.S. origin statement on them to be eligible. Other expenses include cardboard bins or shelving units, any temporary labor you need to set up the display in the store or design those cardboard, displays that'll be in the store are eligible as well. For temporary labor, you do have to send us an invoice with the rate per hour. It needs to be broken out that way so we can show that it's complying with the federal GS 15 step 10 rate. For 2025, this is $77.95 per hour. That's essentially the maximum that we will deem eligible to pay a temporary labor per hour. So anything over that, we will not pay. So essentially $77.95, and then we'll reimburse half of that. Another eligible expense is the rental of the floor space for product promotions like your end of aisle or gondola displays, island displays, etc. And then the space rental for those promotional materials like your displays, signage, etc. And again, everything has to promote your brand name and have that valid U.S. origin statement. Some ineligible expenses include materials or displays, again, that don't promote your brand name or U.S. origin statement. Any custom displays constructed of a permanent material of having that useful life of more than 1 year, anything like plexiglass, wood, steel, etc., is not eligible. It needs to be something that is disposable, essentially. Slotting or listing fees, product placement fees in temporary or seasonal areas, any activity or display that is tied to a coupon or a price reduction, the cost of your product, and then any freight or shipping specifically for your product. So some tips for success when you're participating in the FundMatch program. Before you conduct an activity, sign into your WUSATA account and verify that the country market that you will be conducting your activity is listed in your application and approved. And similarly, your products. Make sure all the products that will be a part of your promotion are listed and approved beforehand. We cannot approve any expenses after they have happened if they were not previously approved. So in that same vein, make sure you go in, and if you need to update or change anything, you can do so beforehand. You can make product amendments to add more products or you can do a marketing plan amendment to add a new country. So make sure those things are done beforehand and approved beforehand. And then when you're ready to submit your claim, make sure you're storing all of your documents in a central location and have them all ready to go before you start your claim. That just helps the process go a lot smoother. And then lastly, total all of your expenditures for that claim beforehand. We do ask for the total amount of expenditures on that first screen when you're submitting your claim, and then you have to itemize out each expense as well. Something to mention as well is proration. So all activities, like I said, have to include your approved products beforehand. If you market any other brands or products that are not approved, they will be prorated. So this applies to all activities, not just in-store displays. It's your trade shows, trade missions, in-store demos, advertisements, etc. So for example, if you had an in-store display and you promote 4 products that are approved in your application, but you also had 2 new products that you were promoting as part of your display that either don't qualify or you didn't get approved beforehand, your claim would be prorated on the basis of 4 out of 6 or 67%, and then reimbursed at 50%. So if you're claiming $5,000 in expenses, we'll prorate it at 67%. And then reimburse half of that. So instead of getting the $2,500 you were initially banking on, you're only going to get that $1,675. However, like I said, you can make that product amendment beforehand. You just go onto your WUSATA account, go to your FundMatch application. You should have a product info tile there, and you can add a new product, upload the label, and then submit it for approval. And I can usually turn those around pretty fast as long as I have everything I need. So those can get done pretty fast. So when you do go to submit your claim, each expense requires 3 types of documentation. So you'll need an invoice. So that invoice needs to include all the typical things you'll see on an invoice: your name, the name of the vendor, address, contact info, each itemized charge shown as a line item, and then the name and information of that payer and the company information. Secondly, we need to show that you paid that invoice. So we'll need to see either a bank or a credit card statement showing that transaction. We want that to be in a PDF format, and we also need to see the account owner name and then the actual transaction line item. You can black out or blur out any of the other transactions a part of that bank statement. We don't need to see everything. If you pay by check, you'll submit the check image with the corresponding bank statement showing the withdrawal, and similarly with the wire transfer, you'll provide us that wire transfer page and then the corresponding bank statement showing the withdrawal. And then lastly, we need to see that the activity did actually happen and verify the U.S. origin statement and brand name requirements. So for proof of activity for in-store displays, we'll need the list of the products that you promoted, the dates and locations of the space rental for the display, if that's what you're claiming. And then for photos, we'll need to see photos of that display, 1 per month, per location, per display. And in that photo, we need to again see your brand name and U.S. origin statement on the display. If you're only going to be claiming the production of the display, like you're only charging us for the what it costs to essentially make those cardboard displays, then we just need to see a photo of that display in its entirety and then see a photo of that display and you set the promotional activity. So now we're going to go into a little bit more depth and see some examples of what the documentation you would need to submit to us if you were claiming specific types of expenses for in-store displays. So in this example, it's for the rented floor space from the retailer. So here we have the invoice from ABC Grocery. You can see the line item, it says the locations and the length of time the display will be there. Total $900. And then for the proof of payment, they paid by wire transfer. So we have the wire transfer page there showing the amount and showing the beneficiary. And then we have the matching bank statement showing the withdrawal. And then lastly, for proof of activity for the rented floor space, and in this instance, they were renting it over the course of 3 months. So we see October, November, December, they have a photo from each month, and then a photo of the actual display in the store, we can see each time has their brand name in that Made in USA origin statement. The second example is for that in-store display production, so the production of that actual display. So here we have an invoice from P & Sons Packaging. You can see they're charging for that carton display box plus shipping, total of $3,885. And then again, they paid by wire transfer. So we have the wire transfer page and then the bank statement as well that corresponds with that wire transfer request. And then for the proof of activity, they provided a photo of the display that was produced. We can clearly see the brand name and Made in USA origin statement. And then there's the photo of that display in the store. So when you are ready to submit a claim, again, you'll go into your WUSATA account. You'll go to the FundMatch program tile, and you'll go to the program year, and you should have a claims tile there. If you don't have a claims tile, that means you haven't either signed your contract for the year or paid your 6% admin invoice. So once you go into that claims tile, you will then see a start claim button on the right-hand side. You'll start the claim and it'll walk you through page by page on all the documentation you need. So this claims process overall, just to guide you through what it will look like start to end, you'll submit your claim to us. That claim needs to be submitted no later than 60 days after the completion of whatever activity it is. If it's a trade show, it's the last day of the trade show. If it's an in-store display, it's the last day that that space floor was rented for. And then once you submit it, again, our FundMatch claims coordinators will review the claim. We review them in the order that they have been submitted. The processing times can really vary depending on the volume of claims we have and the complexity of the claims we have at any given time. Once the claims coordinators review, they will provide any feedback if it's needed and request additional documentation. Companies have 15 days to provide that requested documentation back, or we will process that claim as is, potentially, denying or marking some of those line items as ineligible if we don't have all the documentation we need. So make sure you're monitoring your emails once you've submitted a claim. And then once it has been approved, again, we will move it to payment. And depending on how you want to be paid, either by check or ACH, that payment time can be anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. So to sort of start to wrap up, some tips for success for going through the FundMatch program. We know it can be a lot for all the regulations and documentation you have to provide. That's what we're here for. We're here to help. You can schedule a consultation with your engagement executive. If you don't know who they are, you can email export@wusata.com or .org rather, sorry. You can also read our FundMatch guide that's found on our website, and that has everything you need to know in it. It is a lengthy document, but again, everything you need to know should be in there. And then lastly, we do have some example claims and other video tutorials on our website if you ever are needing some additional guidance on how to submit claims. If you are brand new to WUSATA, you can sign up today for an account, go to our website, complete your company information, and our WUSATA team will vet and approve your account, and all of our accounts are free, easy, and confidential. So now I wanted to shout out a couple of the opportunities that we have through our Global Connect program currently, if anybody's interested, and also highlight how FundMatch can assist on an additional level with those opportunities. So for this one, for Global Connect, we have the China Pet Food Outbound Mission. This is going to Shanghai and Hong Kong. This is in August 18th to the 26th, and the registration deadline just got extended to July 10th. It is a $500 participation fee, but included in that registration fee, you get to exhibit within the WUSATA Pavilion at Pet Fair Asia, which includes market briefings with the USDA and also one-on-one buyer meetings that our in-country reps have set up and pre-vetted those buyers. And there will also be interpreters on site if needed. And then WUSATA Global Connect program will cover a hotel for one company representative, all of the ground transportation in country, and then the airfare from Shanghai to Hong Kong, and then any shipment of samples that are needed as well. For FundMatch, pretty much we can cover anything that Global Connect is not already covering. So if you wanted to send 2 company representatives, we can, reimburse 50% for that second hotel room. The meals and incidental expenses for both company representatives can be submitted for reimbursement. The round trip airfare from the US to China. The registration fee, the $500 registration fee, can be submitted for reimbursement. Any additional freight or shipping that may be needed, printed sales materials if you want to print some flyers, and then giveaways if you want to have some pens or whatever it may be to give away at Pet Fair Asia or to some of the buyers you meet with. And then secondly, we have this produce inbound mission to Nevada and Idaho. This is meeting with Mexican produce buyers. This will be later on in September 21st to the 27th. Registration deadline is August 4th, and it's only $50 to participate. And they will be going to certain cities in Nevada, Yarrington and Fallon, Nevada, and Treasure Valley, Idaho. Even if you don't reside in Nevada and Idaho, if you're nearby, you can always participate. And it looks like this one is going to be focusing on onions specifically. So if there's any onion companies, welcome to join. And this will be a good one as well because, we have some strong buyers from Mexico for produce, and they are our #1 ag export market. So if you're interested in those opportunities, we have a bunch more listed beyond these 2 that are happening soon. I know we have an outbound mission to Taiwan in November, so you can find those all on our website under the events page as well. And with that, thank you all for joining this FundMatch webinar today. You can always reach me at fundmatch@wusata.org. And next month we'll be covering label and packaging modifications.